learning all about rounding. Here are our objectives. We're going to identify the value of the digits in the tens place as well as the hundreds place. And then we're going to use place value to understand how to round whole numbers to the nearest 10 and hundreds. Let's jump into it. So before we get into rounding, we have to have a really solid understanding of place value. So let's look at the number 384. The 4 is in the ones place, the 8 is in the tens place, and the 3 is in the hundreds place. These digits are going to tell us what to round to, so you have to have a solid understanding of place value before we move on to that next lesson. Here's our rounding rule. If the number or the neighbor that we're looking toward is 5 or more, you're going to round up. But if it's 4 or less, that number stays the same. So let's take a look at number 47. If I want to round 47 to the nearest 10, I need to focus on that 4, that tens place, which is why I said place value is so important. Then I'm going to put an arrow to my neighbor. That neighbor is going to tell me whether or not I need to round up or if I need to stay the same. So let's look at our rule. 5 or more, round up. 4 or less, stay the what? Stay the same. Obviously, that 7 is greater than 5, so that 4 is going to go up just by 1, and everything else behind that 4 turned into a 0. So it rounds to 50. Let's keep on practicing. So as you saw on the previous slide, notice how I blocked in my place value in which I was rounding to. I put an arrow to my neighbor and then asked myself that question, am I going to round up or am I going to stay the same? So the first thing we should do when rounding to the nearest 10 is block in my tens place. What digit is in my tens place? The 5. Awesome job. So I'm going to block in that 5 there. I'm going to put an arrow to my neighbor. I'm going to say, hey, neighbor, are you 5 or more or are you 4 or less? Obviously, that 6 is greater than 1. It's greater than 5, right? So that means that 5 is going to turn into a 6. Everything else behind it turns into a 0. But we can't forget to bring down the 2. So it rounds to 260. It's going to round up. Let's keep on practicing. So here, we're going to round each number to the nearest tens place. What digit is in my tens place in the number 24? You got it. You better have said 2. Awesome job. I'm going to put an arrow to my neighbor. And that 4 is going to tell me whether I need to round up or if I need to stay the same. 5 or more, round up. 4 or less, stay the same. Remember that little song? So look at that 4. It's 4 or less. So that 2 is going to stay the same. Good job. Everything else behind it turns into a big 0. Let's look at 38. What digit is in my tens place? Beautiful. That 3. Put an arrow to your neighbor. Say, hey, neighbor, are you 5 or more or 4 or less? Obviously, that 8 is 5 or more, so that 3 is going to just go up just 1. It's going to turn into that 4. Everything else behind it turns into a what? A 0. Awesome job. This time I have a 3-digit number, 161. But remember our lesson before, you have to know your place value. So what digit is in the tens place? I can't just go to the farthest left and say, oh, that's my tens place. No way, Jose. You got to know your place value. What digit is in my tens place? Beautiful job. That's 6. Put an arrow to my neighbor. Say, hey, neighbor, are you 5 or more or 4 or less? Obviously, my neighbor is 4 or less. So that 6 is going to stay the same. Good. Everything else behind it turns into a 0. But I can't forget to bring down that 1 with it because guess what? I have to keep everything to the left the same. Let's step it up just a notch. We're going to round each number to the nearest hundreds place now. What digit is in my hundreds place in the number 237? Good. You should have gotten 2. Same rule apply. Put an arrow to my neighbor, and you're going to go to your closest neighbor to the right. I'm not going to skip my middle number to go all the way to my ones place. No way, Jose. That's not where my arrow goes. That's not my neighbor. You want to go to the closest to your right. So obviously, is that 3, 4 or less, or 5 or more? It's definitely 4 or less. So that 2 is going to stay the same. Everything else behind it turned into a 0. But guess what? I don't just have 1 0. How many digits are behind that number in the box? There are 2. So that means I need to have 2 zeros right after the number 2. Let's look at the number 198. You give it a shot. What do you think 198 rounds to? All right, let's see if you're right. I'm going to block in my hundreds place. Put an arrow to my neighbor. Uh-oh. Is that neighbor 5 or more or 4 or less? Definitely 5 or more. So guess what that one's going to turn into? It's going to go up by 1 and turn into a 200. Woo, woo, you got it. You got it. All right, let's do this last final one here. Let's block in our hundreds place yet again. Put an arrow to our neighbor. Obviously, neighbor, are you 5 or more or 4 or less? Ooh, I think I know this one. It's definitely 4 or less. So that number's going to stay the same. Everything else behind it turns into a 0. How many zeros I have? I definitely have 2 because there are 2 digits behind that number in the box. You did a great job. Let's keep on practicing because guess what? Practice makes what? Perfect. You got me. Got me. Awesome. All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a rounding rocket race. I want to see how well you were paying attention and how well you got this concept of rounding. So I'm going to flash a number on the screen. Say, for instance, it's the number 37. You're going to shout round up or round down if the number rounds up or if it rounds down. Now let's take a look at the first number, 37. Obviously, it's going to round up, but you got to tell me what it rounds to. Round up, 40. But let's look at 42. If 42 popped up on the screen, we would shout round down, 40. You see where I'm going? All right, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? All right, 3, 2, and 1. Ooh, I heard you screaming. You should have definitely got up. Rounds to 40. Good. Yes, good job. Rounds down and it rounds to 60. All right, last round. Give it your best shot. Beautiful. Rounding up, and that rounds to 200. Now, if you were my little smarty pants and you rounded to the nearest tens place, you still should have rounded up, and it would have been 180. So awesome job, learners. All right, so as we're finishing up, we're going to finish off with the real world connection. Let's take a look at this word problem. It's very important that you not only know how to round, but you also know how to incorporate it in a word problem. So let's take a look. A car dealer sold 437 cars last year. About how many cars is that if you round to the nearest 100? Well, let me tell you something. There's a word in here that tells me exactly what I need to do, and it tells me that I need to round. Do you know what word in there tells me to round? Definitely the word about. About means to round. It doesn't mean to give me the exact answer. It means to round. So if I have the number 437, and it says round to the nearest what? The nearest hundreds. Always make sure you pay attention to the place it tells you to round to. So I'm going to block in that hundreds place. Put an arrow to my neighbor. Say, hey, neighbor, are you 5 or more or 4 or less? Oh, that 3 is definitely 4 or less. So that number 4 is going to stay the same. Everything else behind it turn into a 0. Ooh, chef's kiss. Mwah! Beautiful job. Last one, finish strong. Faith went shopping for her class supplies. She brought items costing $47, $26, and $18. About how much did she spend in total? What key word told me to round? Good job, the word about. So this is a 2-step problem, I think. What do you think? Definitely. What operation do you think we're doing for this 2-step problem? Oh, you should have said addition. That keyword and told me to add. But guess what? I'm not just going to add those 3 numbers. No, you told me the word about means to round. So I must first do what? I must first round. So let's go ahead and write the number 47 down. I'm going to write the number 26 down and then 18 as well. Go ahead and round those numbers to the nearest 10. And then, of course, we're going to add as our last step. 47 rounds to 50. 26 rounds to 30. And 18 rounds to, you got it, 20. And the last step, what is that final step? To add. And that keyword and told us to add. I know that 0 plus 0 plus 0 is obviously 0. 5 plus 3, beautiful, 8. But guess what? 2 more, 10. You should have gotten $100. Ooh, she spent $100. She got some money. All right, so I have a last little exit ticket for you to complete just to see how well you've picked up our lesson today. So on a sticky note or a piece of paper or in your head, answer these 2 questions and let me see what you got. Awesome job. So for 68, and we'll run that to the nearest 10, you should have definitely gotten 70. Good job. And then lastly, we're rounding 247 to the nearest 100. And you should have definitely gotten 200. Whoop, 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 whoop. Those are my students right there. I love to see the growth. Mission completed, my lovelies. You learned how to round to the nearest tens and hundreds place today. You should be very proud of yourself. So if you're struggling in class, remember, when in doubt, you better round it out. See you next time.